The morning sun barely filtered through the tall windows of Crestwood High as the students dragged themselves into the building, chatter filling the hallways. It was supposed to be just another day, another routine in the endless cycle of classes, assignments, and teenage drama. But inside the chemistry lab on the second floor, a story was about to unfold that no one would ever forget. A story that would scar reputations, end one boy's arrogance forever, and reveal the terrifying hidden past of a woman who seemed so ordinary until she wasn't. Miss Alina Gray was the new chemistry teacher. She wasn't young like the fresh graduates the school usually hired, but not too old either. Somewhere in her mid-30s, with sharp eyes and a presence that commanded silence without her even trying, the students whispered about her, saying she was too strict, too cold, too secretive. No one knew where she came from. She wore long-sleeved blouses even in warm weather. Her posture always upright like a soldier. Her gaze sharp like she could read every thought in the room. For weeks, the students speculated about her. Some said she was divorced. Others said she was just lonely. And a few whispered something darker, that she wasn't just a teacher, but someone who had lived another life before stepping into this classroom. They were right, but no one knew the truth yet. In every class, there was always one, the bully. The boy who thought the world belonged to him, who believed teachers were beneath him, who had never been told no in his life. His name was Brandon Cole, the son of a wealthy businessman who practically owned half the city. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a face that always carried an arrogant smirk, Brandon was used to fear and obedience. The teachers either tolerated him or ignored his outburst because they feared his father's power. He mocked classmates, shoved smaller kids into lockers, cheated in tests, and when caught, simply shrugged as if the rules were written for others, not him. Miss Gray was different. She didn't flinch when he mocked her lessons, didn't stutter when he raised his voice. She simply looked at him with those piercing eyes of hers, and that alone made him uneasy. Brandon didn't like being made uneasy. He didn't like being reminded that he wasn't in control. That's why on that particular Thursday morning in the chemistry lab, things escalated. The class had been experimenting with solutions, the air thick with the smell of chemicals, glass beers clinking, the usual buzz of students pretending to work while gossiping in hushed tones. Miss Gray moved between the lab tables with her usual calm stride, correcting a measurement here, adjusting a burner there. Brandon leaned against his table, arms crossed, smirking as his friends snickered beside him. "Hey, Miss Gray," he drawled loud enough for everyone to hear. "Are you sure you're a teacher, or are you just playing dress up to pay rent?" The class chuckled nervously. Everyone knew Brandon's game. Poke, insult, humiliate until someone broke. Miss Gray didn't even look at him. "Focus on your experiment, Brandon. Your solution is about to overheat." Her calm dismissal stung him like a slap. Brandon's jaw tightened. No one dismissed him. He was used to people stumbling over their words, trying to appease him. "Don't tell me what to do," he snapped, his voice carrying across the room. "You're not my boss. My dad pays your salary." A hush fell over the class. Some students tried to hide their smiles. Others held their breath. Everyone was waiting to see how Miss Gray would respond. She turned slowly, her eyes locking on his. That gaze was colder than ice, sharper than any blade. Brandon shifted uncomfortably under it, but forced a grin. "You may think your father's money controls this place," she said, her tone calm, deliberate, each word striking like a bullet. "But in this classroom, science and discipline control everything. Sit down." The finality in her voice was like a wall he couldn't break. For a second, Brandon hesitated, unsure why his heart skipped a beat. But pride was poison, and he swallowed too much of it. His friends were watching. The whole class was watching. He couldn't back down now. He slammed his notebook shut and stood up. "Or what?" he sneered, stepping closer to her. "What will you do if I don't sit down?" Her voice didn't rise, didn't tremble. But there was something in it, a command forged in fire and war that made several students instinctively straighten in their seats. Brandon, blinded by arrogance, mistook that control for weakness. In a reckless burst of rage, he did something no student should ever dream of doing. He reached out, grabbed Miss Gray by the throat, and shoved her back against the lab counter. Gasps echoed through the room. Chairs scraped as students stood up in shock. Some fumbled for their phones. For a heartbeat, the world froze. Brandon's hand clenched around her neck, his face twisted in triumph. "What now, huh?" he spat. "What will you do now?" But then it happened. Miss Gay's eyes didn't widen, and fear they narrowed. In that split second, something shifted in the room. The teacher was gone, and in her place, something far deadlier stood. Years of training, of combat, of discipline, buried under the fast aid of a quiet teacher, surged to the surface. Her hand shot up like lightning, gripping his wrist in an iron hold. Brandon's smug expression faltered. Her other hand slammed against his elbow, bending it in a direction it wasn't meant to go. Pain shot across his face, his grip loosening as he let out a strangled cry. In one fluid motion, she twisted free, spun behind him, and locked his arm behind his back. The sound of his body slamming against the counter rang like thunder across the lab. The entire class froze, mouths open, eyes wide. Miss Gray hadn't just defended herself. She had moved with a precision and ferocity no ordinary teacher possessed. She pressed him down, her voice low, deadly, whispering just loud enough for the class to hear. "You don't know who you're dealing with." Brandon struggled, but the more he fought, the tighter her hold became. His friends didn't dare move. Nobody did. For the first time in his life, Brandon Cole wasn't in control. He was prey caught in the grip of a predator he never saw coming. "Apologize," she commanded. The word cracked through the silence like a whip. Brandon groaned, trying to twist free, but her hold only intensified. "Say it," she repeated, her tone laced with steel. The boy who had terrorized so many students, who had laughed in the faces of teachers, was now trembling, sweat trickling down his temple. "I am sorry," he stammered, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry." Miss Gray released him with a shove. He stumbled forward, clutching his arm, his face pale and humiliated. No one laughed. No one dared. The room was frozen in all fear and disbelief. Miss Gray stood tall, adjusting her sleeves, her expression calm once again, but in her eyes a storm brewed past that no one could even imagine. She looked at the class, her voice steady. Class dismissed. No one moved at first. Then, one by one, the students gathered their things in silence, their gazes darting between Brandon, still clutching his arm, and Miss Gray, who stood like a soldier returning to parade rest. That day, whispers spread like wildfire. The teacher wasn't just a teacher. She was something else, something dangerous. And Brandon Cole, the untouchable bully, had been destroyed in front of everyone, not with empty threats, but with terrifying precision. And deep inside, Brandon knew his future had just taken a turn he could never escape. Because Miss Alina Gay's military past wasn't just a rumor. It was real, and it had just destroyed his arrogance forever.
And if you like this video, kindly thumbs up, and thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.